it's very rugby heavy, and we make no apologies for it. Ronan O'Gara, good morning to you.
Morning, Adrian. Hi, Shane.
How are you keeping?
Very well. Yeah, good, thank you.
Juices flowing on Six Nations weekend, or just distracted by the fact that you have a game yourself?
Yeah, bread and butter is top 14, Leon at home, so had a disappointing defeat to Racing at the weekend. Played well, defended very poorly, and got caught to a last second penalty, kicked really well by Finn Russell. So yeah, those away victories are precious. We pick up 1 point, but I think we left 4 points behind. Our attack was better than previous weeks, but was still inaccurate, and we only needed 2 more tries to obviously get the winning try bonus, which is different in the European Cup in France. You just have to score 3 more tries than your opposition, so it makes it quite exciting, if you're 3-0 up and in tries, but you concede a late try from whatever, knocking off, you lose a point. So there's always kind of, I suppose, mini games within the games going on, which makes it quite good.
Were you so like Russell kicks 9 out of 10, including the last kick of the game, to move it from a draw to a win, and were you sort of the fact that it was only going to be a draw anyway, were you like, well, not a huge difference either way, or very frustrating that the penalty was given away and you concede that late?
No, because it never comes down to it. We put ourselves in a position 40 metres out in front of the post that there is probably a high likelihood when you're the away team, and if your scrum isn't given dominant signs, that you may be penalised. We were penalised, and it's indoor in an arena. The kicking conditions are very, very good, so Finn Russell wasn't going to miss. But as you say, yeah, instead of having best case scenario at that stage was 2 points, we got 1 point. But the bigger picture is that what happened for the rest of the game, why did we give up a 28-16 lead, and just the importance of, I suppose, developing a mindset where we put the game to bed a lot earlier and don't let teams back in.
You're back in the touchline for Leon tomorrow. It might be brief.
I hope not, and all I'll say is I'll talk about that next week, if that's okay.
That is fair enough.
Because it's a live issue, and there's a little bit of disbelief from my end, so that's all I'll say. But I'll just reply in depth next week with you.
No problem. The Ireland team came out during the week. Obviously Wales tomorrow, 2:15 at the Principality Stadium. What jumped out from you when you saw the team, or was it kind of along expected lines?
There was new faces, obviously. I think, the reality is your 23 isn't as strong when Tyke Furlong, Ronan Kelleher aren't in it, Robbie Henshaw. So that's the glass half empty approach, but it's an opportunity, as Andy Farrell said, for other guys coming in. But I suppose the forward pack is a lot less experience with without a shadow of a doubt, a world-class player in Tyke Furlong, a proven competitor in Kelleher, because a lot of the people don't understand it's a 23-man game, especially at test level, and taking those, Henshaw as well, 3 out, it is a weakened group for me, and Wales will see entries into the game through Beelum, and obviously you've a hooker obviously who's has a huge potential coming in from Ulster, uncapped, but also it'll take him, no matter how good he is, a few games to find his stride at test level. So you can see it already. The focus from Wales is that they're going to go after Ireland up front. But we've heard that before. But home advantage is absolutely huge in the Six Nations, and Ireland's record in Cardiff gives Wales hope. That is definitely not up for debate with me.
When I'd seen Warren Gatland's Welsh starting 15, Ronan, I was starting to think I was going to see yourself and Brian O'Driscoll named in the Irish team. It felt like it was a decade ago. There was time travel going on. So a lot of experience in that Welsh team, but of course Lee Halfpenny has had to pull out, injured late on, but still a strong team, albeit getting on in years, some of them.
Yeah, but the one thing really that I think is really important is having experienced players, but you need that boundless energy of young guys that don't feel pain, that don't get really tired like experienced players do. Just the fact that at a certain age, that I think that chemistry between experienced players and young players, all guys really appreciate having kind of and seeing guys in training just bouncing off the ground and knowing that if I kind of have my role right and they give the energy to this team and they kind of run non-stop for the 80 minutes or the 40 minutes the ball is in play, that's a good combination. Wales, it's an experienced team. You look at Liam Williams replacing obviously Halfpenny, but Liam Williams is he's a test 15 for the Lions, so he has proven quality. I think what Gatland like is that there's absolute certainty with Halfpenny kicking goals from 55 metres in a test game at home, and they are I suppose well stocked. It's just I suppose how many times he can keep asking the same players to do it, but he's got a few, I suppose, rookies in there that'll give energy to it. The Ospreys are probably in a better headspace than they've ever been, those players going into Welsh camps. So it's just obviously a skill of Warren Gatland being able to come back and get a different response out of a lot of the same players. Is that possible? It'll be interesting to see.
I'd seen some really interesting comments from Andy Farrell in the last couple of days where he was talking about learning from other managers in other sports at the top level who've achieved consistently and kept their teams at the top. Andy had said he's met up with Mikel Arteta, he's met up with Alex Ferguson to, I guess, discuss more about achieving regular excellence. Is that something, you came to my mind, Ronan, is that something that you have looked to do as well in terms of meeting up with managers from other sports to kind of nitpick and pick their brain as such?
The reality is that's probably ahead of me. That's, I think, my Faz is obviously more down the road than I am in that regard, and I met him at the Ulster game actually, and it's just a guy who within 3 minutes of talking you want to spend more time with him. He has that usually open, interesting, easy to talk to personality where you just wish you had more hours to spend time with him. He was actually going to the bar, I think, in the Lansdowne for a jolly at Christmas time lunch, I think, and I wanted to join him. But you just love chatting rugby to him because he already has a huge foundation from being a champion of rugby league and everything. He like when he talks to those teams, he didn't mention Wigan, but Wigan were a team that dominated rugby league and made other people, I suppose, redefine or re-challenge what they're going to do. And it's, of course, you needed to do. I suppose, where I am in my headspace was last season we wanted to be the first group to win something. We did that, so obviously then the mindset and the story has to change. So when you win something once, you're trying to, and it was interesting, it's the same language, you're trying to develop continued excellence. But to develop continued excellence, you need to be consistent. That's why last weekend stung me. We had 4 wins in a row, playing pretty averagely. And then you go to racing and you put an emphasis on attack because you're playing in an indoor hall or an indoor pitch for those people who aren't aware of it. And then you forget that, so we're putting emphasis on attack, so it's optional to defend. So we played two-handed touch in defence and we conceded 39 points. So that blows a lot of what you're trying to do up in the air. It makes you question a lot of things. So this week is trying to, I suppose, re-establish what we're trying to respect in our values and our standards and our behaviours. But the bigger picture is, if you want to get better and grow, it's absolutely imperative that you chat to other managers who have achieved success, continued success, and made their environments elite.
Shane mentioned there obviously about Warren Gatland, Ronan, and the team that he selected, and like I think the inference generally is that it's seen as a bit of an old school approach, and we might see a bit of sort of Gatty ball or whatever, Wazzle ball, whatever we want to call it. What about the flip side of that? Like a lad who's 25 years now at between his Connacht and Ireland days, at the top level of the game. Like, I mean, it's an incredible longevity.
Yeah, but I think it's the exact same. I think the man behind the coach is very interesting. Warren Gatland, he's an interesting man. He's engaging. Boys would, run through brick walls from like all the boys in red do. When we played for Ireland under Gats, he was impressive. So, I think what he has done, you cannot contest, because Wasps were the one, if not the best teams in Europe as well. And then he went on with obviously Ireland, and then Wales, and then the Lions, and then obviously he had a bit of a setback with the Chiefs, but he's back again now, and it'll be interesting to see, because it is hard to go back. I think that is most definitely up for debate, and you're kind of really looking at him to save it. But I think it's the players that decide this. Warren has to create the environment. The players will have to take control of the game. But the margins at test level are very, very small. And it'll be interesting to see. I think the roof is closed, obviously, so conditions should be good. Ball handling should be good. How, I suppose, both sides look to break each other down.
It's brought up, like the Gatland stuff, obviously, whenever he's involved against Ireland, brings up old sores, and more recent sores was the Sexton dropping from the Lions squad, and it was addressed again during the week, and Gatland felt that it sort of positively contributed to the kick in Sexton's career over the last couple of years. From what you know of Johnny Sexton, Ronan, excuse me, is he going out to drive that home against Gatland this weekend, or is it not a factor for him?
No, I think, as Johnny said himself, like the huge disappointment of missing out on that tour, I suppose, made him have a look at himself and see where he could get better, and he has got better, and that's the credit to the guy. But at the same time, those disappointments stay with you. I can remember well in 2009 when I was playing good rugby, and Warren was coach of the Lions team as well. And for the first test, I was probably unbelievably gutted not to be picked as a starting 10 in that test, but behind Stephen Jones, considering we'd won 2 European Cups and a Grand Slam just before that tour. So, the form is there, but I understand combinations too. When you have a 10 and you have your coach from the same country, there's a lot of trust built up. So in your head, you're kind of going, okay, that's maybe why he went that way. But those disappointments always stay with you and they scar you. But the good thing about sport is that you can't let them eat at you. You have to get back, and you have to make a plan to show what you're made of, because the more games you play and the more disappointments are, the more resilience you need. And all of the top players, and no matter what sport it is, they've all had huge setbacks. Everyone looks at the bigger picture sometimes, but and they look at their CV and they go, wow, look how impressive that is. Yeah, it is, but look at the amount of disappointments that are entailed in that as well.
You mentioned, Ronan, the importance of home advantage in the Six Nations, and we know that the Principality Roof Stadium is going to be closed for this match, which, look, it'll add to the atmosphere. When you were a player for Ireland heading over to Wales, what was your thoughts on, if any, the roof being closed or otherwise? I guess from a kicker's perspective, maybe it's a bit different. You're glad that there's no gusting wind, but look, it does give an advantage to the home team. It creates a bit of a cauldron over there in Cardiff.
Yeah, it does, but it also, with the condensation factor, that was the big thing for me playing, was the fact that even though, bizarrely, when it's closed, the ball will be slippier.
Right.
Because of 80,000 people going into an environment, and however that condensation effect is created by people's body heat. So that, obviously it isn't an issue at line-out because the ball gets dried at line-out time. So, you're going to have dry ball for set-piece attack. It's only when you put it into the scrum it may become a little bit slippery, but certainly there's a skid factor off it in terms of tactical kicking, which is appreciated as a 10. But yeah, obviously, even if the roof wasn't closed, you don't get any swirling winds when you have such a high stadium around you. So it's a fantastic stadium. The crowd is so close. It's one of the best stadiums in the world, and I think the one thing Wales will be looking to eliminate is Ireland to start fast. That'll be the one, I think, huge. There'll be an almighty pace to the game in the first 10 minutes, and Wales will look to start fast to try and score first. If they do that, scoreboard pressure is something that will put stress on Ireland, while conversely, if Ireland score first, it may lead to a comfortable afternoon, and that is exactly what the home supporters and the home team don't want.
Yeah. Like Ireland did last year, obviously, with a really quick start. And I mean, Ireland should have nilled them last year, apart from that Byrne pop pass towards the end that they ran in that late try. Is that a factor for them, like in terms of the motivation for it, Ronan, the getting up for it? Is that, we don't want to, let's not put ourselves in that same situation again in terms of that fast start that you're talking about?
Yeah, I just think it'll be interesting, obviously. There's a big opportunity to Wales to paint this game in a very positive light, and the fact that one of their teams have qualified for the knockout stages of Europe. Warren Gatland is back. There's a new coaching team. There could be a complete new buzz in camp. There's a lot of proven good players in the Wales team, so they'll be trying to slip in under the radar. From Ireland's point of view, they're the number one team in the world. They're going away to Wales. It may be a tricky game, but in their heads they'll be going, yeah, we need to be near our best. I don't think Ireland have to be at their best to beat Wales, but I think if they're near their best, they'll go, okay, we've ticked off how many performances like this in the last 24 months, get our preparation right, get our focus right, let's attack these guys, let's put pace on it. Ireland's phase game in attack is really, really good. I think it's comfortably the best of the home nations, and I think that's where they'll put emphasis on trying to break Wales down. I think you look at Ireland and their detail in their lines of running and the forwards, and the intelligence of Johnny in trying to set teams up to break them down a phase or two later. It's very, very evident, and they have a big advantage from what I've seen of the other Six Nations teams.
One last one for you before we let you away. I was just looking at the all-time scoring charts, Ronan, of the Six Nations since it became the Six Nations in 2000. In third place, Owen Farrell, 500 points. Second place, Johnny Sexton, 531 points. And number one, still, on 557 points, Ronan O'Gara. He's only got 27 more points to overtake you. It's probably going to happen in the next few weeks. How will you feel about that?
I wasn't even aware of that. Obviously, it's fantastic to have scored so many points, and it's something that's naturally going to happen. That's what happens. You post your target, and then someone else comes on after you, and he posts his target, and that's a credit to Johnny's, I suppose, standards, drive, competitiveness, everything about him. So, something's going to happen, but isn't it great for two Irish guys to be top of the list?
Stephen Hendry was, he was verbally very complimentary to Ronnie O'Sullivan as he watched his records tumble over the years. But I think when Ronnie got to the 7th world title and equalled it, he was secretly fuming, you could tell. So Ronan, I think you're going to be outwardly congratulating Johnny when it happens, but secretly I'd imagine inside you'll be like,
If Decky had just given me a few more games.
No, but that's, you know what I mean, that's something that you learn in sport too. It's you know what I mean, it's easier to chase than post, you know.
Fair.
So that's why I think winning Europe at Munster too, obviously there's Ulster were the first team, but it was without the English teams, and then for the Munster team it was very important that we did that, you know. And it's the same at all the records, you know. It's you give it your shot, and then you're extremely grateful, you know. Like, I'm finished nearly 10 years now, and Johnny's been playing extremely well for 10 years, and that's what he deserves.
Man, Ronan, thanks a million. Talk to you next week.
Cheers. See you, boys. Thanks. Bye-bye.